All right, we can get rolling. Karen, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
This is the Gray Paper Podcast. My name is Mike. I'm owner and founder of Gray Paper Legal.
And I'm Karen Westwood, Director of the Hennepin County Law Library.
Each week we answer the question, what is the most interesting legal research question of the week? We have been super busy, so I have loads of interesting things. But Karen, why don't you start first? We were just talking about a couple of interesting things going on with you. Where do you want to start? The Cali piece or your research challenge? How do you want to get started?
I want to start with my research challenge, just because it's interesting when we have non-attorneys ask questions to try to figure out like what to tell them. So this person called up, and he has a son who's autistic and wanted to know if his son needs to reveal that he's autistic to the auto insurer. Right? So we're like,
Okay.
well, did the auto insurer ask?
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
no, I don't think so. And so that, like, is that even really a legal question? So we looked up statutes. There's no statute that discusses or addresses autism in particular. There are aspects of the statutes that mention seizures or I don't know, medical impairments. And then we looked at the regulations, like maybe this is not a statutory thing, right? It's who's going to give you a driver's license.
Yeah.
So under the regs, there's nothing about autism except that actually now there's a statute where you can put an autism signifier on your driver's license in Minnesota.
Really?
If you want to, an autism or mental health, some kind of symbol. And it does not explain in the statutes at all why one would want to do that. And you can put it on and you can take it back off. But, you know, autism nonprofits and so forth have articles up. And the reason you would do that is that, you know, if you react in an unconventional way to a traffic stop, due to your mental illness or autism, you want police to at least have a chance to be alerted to that fact and that might account for an unusual or an atypical interaction. So that was all super interesting. Not really the answer to the question, though. So my question to you, Mike, is like, I don't know with a non-attorney. So we sent him the statute saying if you have seizures, you know, you're out of luck. And we sent him the regs and then kind of said, I don't know if they give you a license. I don't know if you have to report that to your insurance company.
You know, we run into this kind of thing all of the time, right? Is it disallowed? Is it permitted? Is it,
right.
Well, there's nothing that we find that says you can't. You know, how do you prove a negative when you're doing legal research?
Right.
You don't. Yeah, it's very hard to do. You just be as rigorous as you can, and ultimately, I think running this is not the kind of query where I would probably start with like the term autism, right? I wouldn't care about that.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that is to say, if it were, I wouldn't want to miss it either. So,
right.
You were, of course, but not surprising. You didn't find anything with the word autism in it, right?
Right. Not in the statutes. Well, except, for this little odd thing where you can denote it now, but
which is super interesting also. I'm wondering if the police officers are trained on any of this. I mean, after everything that's gone on in Minneapolis,
I know. I wonder
how
about
aware
that
we are.
too. And I think so often traffic stops are, well, maybe it's not true. It seems like you hear about traffic stops at night going bad. And so how closely can they see the license? Maybe. I don't know. But so I mean, so we basically just said, well, here's the statute on what you have to like be aware of in terms of being able to drive, and here's what's required for a license. You can put this indicator on it if you want, but in terms of your insurance, Like we've got nothing, basically.
Yeah, I
And
can't
that's often the
imagine.
case with insurance, right?
The
People ask me about their insurance companies. I'm like, well, what does the policy say? They're like, I want to know what the
Yeah.
law
Oh,
says.
yeah. I've had that conversation a million times with other attorneys. It's like
Really, even
you
with
got to read the
attorneys?
policy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Can I do anything
It's
other than read it? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And who does that? I mean, nobody. Have you ever seen the directory, the key number system under insurance? I think I even know the topic number. Yeah, I think it's 157. So should we see if I'm right?
Yeah,
Let's see.
let's check it out, Mike. If
Contact
anyone
key
knows the
number
key number scheme, it's going to be you. So
157. No, 157 is evidence. I got it wrong.
okay,
Insurance is, I knew it was one of the what is insurance? It's 217, but it is massive. There are a
right,
ton of key numbers under.
right.
Maybe I'll share a screen here.
I mean, all I could like remember from law school around about insurance is insurance companies are often the bad guy in cases, and insurance companies
Yeah.
always win. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, look at all of these key numbers. It's
Yeah,
just so
it just goes
complicated. It's
on
been
and on. Yeah,
litigated to death. I mean,
right.
um, anytime there's an insurance thing to research, I have both of those thoughts. One is, what's in the policy? What does the policy
Right.
say? The other
Yeah.
thing is, oh my God, this is going to be a long project. Just because of the nature of the topic, it's just enormous.
Right.
Just a ton of topic and key numbers under 217 under insurance. I
Yeah.
think there's got to be more key numbers here under insurance than any other.
Yeah. And I feel like all insurance litigation is about insurance and also something else. Right. So it's like the insurance
Yeah.
laws and rules, but then it's also like about evidence or about contract law or about property value. It's always about, well, I suppose in most laws about more than one thing, but insurance seems to be the one that always has multiple things going on. We have a whole set called Miller's Insurance Forms. It's volumes and
Yeah.
volumes in 3-ring binders. I could not tell you how to use that. To me, it seems so complicated.
What would be our prompt for the AI if we wanted to try that?
Oh, let's see. I just lost your. Oh no, there it is. I lost your screen, but it's back. And what the word disclose pulls up and just sort of casual searching are various disclosures, about like rental property and real estate disclosures and so forth. So that more general term wasn't adequate either. Yeah, I know. And it's like to their insurer. Part of me thought, you know what? If the state of Minnesota gives you a driver's license, I don't know, whatever you disclose to them is what you have to disclose to you. I feel like your insurance company shouldn't demand to know more than that, but that's me not understanding insurance.
Right. Well, but the question is not the state whether or not you're permitted to drive. It's whether or not your insurer, whether or not that's I don't know if I keep that open. I might even keep the driving out of it in this case.
Right.
What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know in what other context you might need to disclose to an insurer, but maybe you might get a bunch of health insurer responses.
Yeah.
Which would be different, but so this, Mike, you're in real time using the
this is the AI assisted research.
Yeah. So fun. And does it take a minute to generate a response?
Yeah. I have found though, the results here have been pretty good, even when they're a little in a situation like this, when we're not likely to find anything or I feel like the AI responses are pretty good. I've tried, like, I've been working in Paxton and MidPage and a number of these
Oh, right.
others.
Yeah.
And so this is interesting. So based on the results, it does not appear that an insured individual is explicitly required to disclose their autism to the insurer. However,
Yeah.
a number of statutes and regulations mandate that insurers provide coverage for the treatment of autism spectrum disorder, which is, I think,
Yes.
some of the stuff you found. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely Minnesota is one of the states that requires coverage for that health insurance. So insured receiving treatment.
And this is in I didn't limit this to any jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Also, you can do that sort of standard. And it's a chatbot style setup here. So
so is that how you ask the follow up? What about for Minnesota? Yeah.
Well,
right.
I would probably just rerun this in. You could do that, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
But I think what about for
like driver's insurance, automobile insurance?
Yeah, let's do automobile insurance.
Right, because I guess that's really what your insurance is insuring, is your automobile. And they want to know about you as a driver. This is kind of fun to see this in real time.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I have had, I think we were talking about last time we chatted, where it was sometimes felt like it was delivering exactly the wrong answer, but even that was helpful because it was just getting the words kind of mixed up, right? The order of the words,
describing the concept.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
like, oh, but it was delivering exactly the right document that I wanted. So that's pretty well.
Yeah, see, I'm heartened that even Precision's having trouble finding anything with automobile.
Yeah. But just about for every question, it takes about that long.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
Seems less clear than with health insurance based on the search results.
Which is what I would say as well.
Yeah. Search results discuss the insurer's duties to disclose in general without specific reference to autism. A case in Mississippi held that an automobile insurer had no fiduciary duty to disclose to insured the insurer's practice for valuing vehicles in the event of a total loss.
Well, that doesn't seem.
These are the backwards. So this is also backwards.
Yeah, this is right. Yeah. This is, does the insurance company have to disclose? But here's a non-disclosure and application for renewal of auto policy.
Yeah, but here's some helpful language, right? That might lead us to a key number or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Non-disclosure in an application for renewal of an automobile policy of a fact that materially affected the risk assumed by the insurer was a misrepresentation, which is exactly the what we're concerned with here.
Yeah.
Now, if we grab that case, Ratliff versus Safeway, you can see it's also delivering the insurance regulations from various states.
Oh, from different states. Yep.
And because the key number system under insurance is so massively complex, it's hard to just browse into something like that.
I was going to say,
now we've got a case that is at least principally on point. And we can just browse down to the relevant portion here, and let's see, we can do this live here. False statement and application. So representations, materiality. This is the kind of thing. This is what I would be jumping into next, I think.
Sure.
This materiality key number in our jurisdiction to see whether or not there's just a common law obligation.
Right.
Again, I think you're exactly right. What does the policy say? But
yep. And that very last paragraph of your results did say something like, even though there's nothing explicitly that we can find, that explicitly explains this, if you think you have a driver who has a, situation that might affect their ability to safely drive, you should probably tell your insurer.
Yeah. exactly,
Just sort of like
exactly.
what your dad would have told you too. It's not really legal research at that point, but I mean, maybe it
Right,
is.
right. Well, I mean, at least to the extent that we can say, you know, we've been here just less than 10 minutes on this topic, and I feel like we've already gotten the scope of the issue. You know, the AI
Right.
led us to the right case with the right principle. Now we're in the key numbers. You know, I may recycle this a couple of times to jump back. I mean, this may not be the only principle that we care about here. It's
Right.
probably
Yes.
pretty darn close. And as I scan through these, I'm reading the head notes. I'm looking for any reference to the statutory references that are going to be in the head notes here,
Sure.
or the regulations. And after
Yep.
that, I sort of feel like we've covered our bases.
Right.
You know, I don't
Right.
feel like it is, you know, because it's such a complex area of the law. Um, I wouldn't say that we're unnecessarily, but I feel like that's the process that I would take,
Right.
and probably, you know, call it a day,
Yeah.
you know, in under an hour, maybe. I mean,
Yep.
um,
Well, that's very helpful. Yeah. Because I mean, it's pretty much the process that we went through in trying to respond to this. I always feel like we have a little bit of a disadvantage in a public library setting, because like we don't say, well, give me your contract, let's see what it says.
yeah, yeah.
Because that's not the nature of what we're doing. So we're operating kind of in a more theoretical space on a lot of these
Yeah,
questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, cool. What was your interesting, or which of the many questions have you had? Did you want to talk about
I
today?
did. We've been testing a lot of the AI stuff, but so here's kind of a weird one that it's a couple of tangents that I did. You see this little spark icon in the upper right hand corner
Yeah.
where it's a co-counsel. So this is co-counsel where you
Oh,
access
yep.
the new tool, and you've got all of the tools right from here. So this is what came from Casetext, all of this tech here.
And so
The,
this AI is different than the precision AI that you just were using. Is that
that
correct?
is correct. From what I understand, is that the
Yep.
AI assisted search isn't directly accommodating all of the Casetext stuff. I'm not
Hmm.
sure exactly what that crossover will be or is, but
Sure. Yep.
my understanding is now that they're distinct. That
Okay.
the you know, this data extraction, for example, is case
Oh,
text,
yeah. Yep.
rather than the AI assisted search.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but what I was wondering about, you know, this spark icon here, I've just started noticing that as available, and wherever there's an AI adopted tool, that this seems to have become the um become the icon for artificial intelligence in the applications that we're using. And I was wondering, you know, how to confirm that, or do a search on something like that that is visual in nature. And that's why I jumped out, because I was still doing my homework when you when we started this morning, and I'm not sure I've got the answer. But you know, we've talked about doing things like um, Google image searches before. I was pick on the
Right.
Bar Association here. I hate to do this, but you know, you can, if you right click on a Chrome page, you've search images with Google,
Oh, sure.
and then you can just highlight, you
Oh,
know, and you
yeah.
can find the source. This is good. You know, if you're checking for you know, infringement, for example,
Right. You
somebody's,
do trademark research and yeah.
yeah, trademarks, yeah, or looking to see if somebody's used your copy.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yep.
You know, and you know, it's great because you could sort of see all the organizations who have used the same clip art
Hmm.
on 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 theirs. I tried that with here just to see if I could find some exact matches. I'm gonna try it on this one here. Let's see if it's itty bitty.
And so you're seeing that not just on Westlaw, but other AI products, that little icon.
Yes, yes. I know
Yeah.
Google has used it. And when did that become the
Right. Like, is this an industry standard or,
yeah,
I mean, probably not formally, but yeah.
ew, it's too
Looks
small.
like
Might
a
not.
car brand icon to me.
Yeah, Subaru, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I think Subaru uses that.
Or something very similar, right?
And I didn't get much. And I'm familiar with um uh Google Trends,
Mhm.
um which I've used a couple of times. I thought, I tried to throw in some of the more recent concerns for attorneys here to see, so I had a couple of questions with this. First of all, how do you do this with images? And
Mhm.
then how do you
Right.
do this and restrict it to a particular industry?
Right.
Because I was sort of thinking that, our focus in the legal industry has shifted over time. For a while, we were
Mhm.
all about smart contracts and concerned with things like that. And then our attention shifted to the metaverse and what was happening at Facebook and places like that, and whether we're going to be operating in virtual environments exclusively. And then 2022 happened, and we were
Yeah.
only talking about artificial intelligence for a year. And I was
Right.
just trying to determine if we could show that. And I wasn't sure, and that's what I was trying to figure out as we were jumping on this morning, is if I could narrow that by the by industry, what
Right.
attorneys we're talking about.
Right.
This is kind of a cool tool. You could see here that the blue here is the metaverse, and that
Metaverse.
really
Yeah.
spiked in searches at one period of time, and then dropped off. And
Yeah.
artificial intelligence is seems to be ranking higher in numbers of searches. But and then I did notice that there was an image search here.
Oh,
um
yep.
but I'm not quite sure exactly how that works, and it didn't help me really identify the trend in that particular
Right.
Spark icon. And I'm not sure that icon has got I've seen it called Spark, and I've seen it called stars or
Yeah,
constellation,
it
but
looks like
I don't
stars.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the so
Hey,
if
Mike,
folks are
maybe it could be used in the new Minnesota state flag.
yeah. Yes. What do you think about the new designs?
I don't know. I'm such a literal person. I was even before I went to law school, but that really pounds it into you, I think. So something representational, I'm like, I don't have a
Oh,
good sense
really?
of that. Yeah.
I
I mean, some of them are
saw.
okay. They look pretty, they look pretty of the moment. I'm not sure exactly what makes something timeless, but I'm
I
I'm
know.
not convinced that any of those have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're going to create something timeless, it's going to be something that 80% of the people hate when you create it. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know that you'll
Yeah.
ever
And
get a
it's
committee to choose.
right. And it'll just be like three colors in bands or something,
Right, 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 right.
So boring. But yeah, I kind of like some of them. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought the seal was, captured all of the pieces. The star, the
Right.
moon,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
That was
lakes.
nice. There was one iteration of a star that I don't know was superimposed over something that almost to me looked like it could maybe be a sheaf of wheat and also a star. And I like that kind of combination. But
Let's
yeah,
see.
for
There was
people not
one.
in Minnesota, I would say maybe it isn't interesting, but it actually sounds like a number of states have gone or are going through a similar process
Yeah.
of
I mean,
trying
they
to
are
redo.
all pretty horrible looking. I mean,
Yeah.
there were other reasons. I actually haven't been following this issue closely at all. I can't remember what the issue was with the current
Well,
flag,
the
but
current one is so complex that I guess flag people say elementary school students should be able to draw the flag. They can do an approximation of the US flag, but no one could do the current Minnesota flag. It has so many elements, and that's the one. It looks like a star. Maybe it's a snowflake on top of a yellow star that that incorporated both star and snow that I kind of liked. But I thought,
That's
I don't
nice.
know. Yeah, boy.
Some of these are
The little
goofy.
loons.
There was one I saw that I really liked. I can't. It was a loon, but the loon was very, very present. I wonder if I can find it here. Some of these are goofy.
A lot of them had loons, and you could tell some were like children doing them. And
yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
cute.
I mean, that right here, wouldn't that be? Isn't that what you
And
want?
there's a star and a sheaf of wheat right there.
Yeah, right there. What more do you need? It was a great one with the loon. It's just the eye was present. A big red eye. I can't. This was my favorite one, but I don't see it here.
And then some people sent in silly ones, like a photo of their dog, and
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. I think other people were like, "Oh, they're not taking it seriously," but they just discarded all those. Anyhow, once you figure out how to search that AI icon, then I can grab some of the elements off those flags and see where people got those. But the other law thing we were going to mention, Mike, was Cali.
Yeah, tell me about that. So you just tell me about what you're doing with that.
Oh, well, I mean, it's probably premature, but I'll tell you and all of our many viewers.
And everybody, just share your personal, you don't mind, do
That's
you?
right. No, but I decided to apply to be on the board of directors for Cali. They have like 3 positions open and 35 applicants. So I don't know what the odds are, but it occurred to me, I feel like Cali is this organization that people who know it and love it just really love it, and a lot of people don't know it.
Yeah,
so
I have to say I am not familiar. I remember like that was a thing in law school,
right.
and I hear it celebrated and promoted in kind of the weirdest contexts, especially at law schools. But I'm not super familiar with the organization or their mission.
Right. So they started out as Cali stood for Computer Assisted Legal Instruction. They did these little tutorials, online tutorials that you could do to try to lock in these legal concepts. And so I was first really introduced to them when I was in law school. And I always tell the executive director that it was Cali that taught me the dormant commerce clause, and is the only reason I just watched that lesson over and over. I could not understand that concept at the time. And then when I was a librarian in a law school, I would look for Cali lessons about research, and either assign them, or sometimes they would just give me good ideas for how to present a problem, or I don't know, illustrate something. So I found it, really helpful. But they've branched out from just these little tutorials, and they have hundreds of them now. And so professors like Cali too. Some professors would write a bunch of lessons and then just assign lessons as work to their students through the semester, and you could tell when students had taken them, when they'd passed them, and so forth. So that was good. But then they've kind of branched out into a few other things. They have some online textbooks, entire textbooks for courses that they make available. They call it like E. Langdahl Press or something. And professors are willing to do that, construct a textbook, have it hosted on Cali, and then students don't have to pay.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
And so that's just a super benefit to students for that. And then they put together an A2J, I think they called it that, an A2J form builder. And so they have the software to build forms. And the executive director thought that courts were really going to jump on that as a method to construct the forms for their systems. And he said they haven't. He's not sure why. He said for 15 years he's been promoting that.
That's right. I do remember the A2J builder. It had a name though. What was the and it's super competitive market. I mean, there are
Right.
other Jonathan Pyle, who is the person who created the Python-based DocAssemble
Oh, yeah.
coding language, built that for, and then other companies just commercially built over the top of his language. So that's been
Right.
available to in all different kinds of easy no code ways for uh,
Right.
legal aid
And
groups.
I think, right, in legal aid, they use a variety of things. I think legal aid in
Yeah,
Minnesota did use the Cali product to do a couple of the forms, the non-court forms that you
yeah,
find that they make
yeah.
available on legal aid sites. But the
I
court
think
in
Lasnam
Minnesota,
got a grant to purchase Documate, or which is now Gavel. I think they
oh,
use.
really?
Yeah, I don't know to what extent that they used it. I think it was Lasnam. One of the Minnesota groups got a grant to.
Sure. Yep.
They were going to apply it to Gavel.
Gavel. Yeah. Well, like in the case of Minnesota, they had already kind of started down the road of selecting an e-filing system. So
Yeah,
they just wanted to go with the same company that was doing their e-filing
yeah,
to
yeah,
provide the lift on the forms. And I'm thinking that a number of organization or of courts probably did that. But really, Cali's bread and butter market is law schools
yeah,
and law.
yeah, yeah,
But because they have this access to justice kind of piece,
yeah.
and I worked on, so another thing Cali just ended up being involved in is when I was at Mitchell, I was involved with a group called Distance Learning and Legal Education. That was at the time that Mitchell was setting up its hybrid JD
Yeah, yeah,
program.
yeah.
And so there were a number of schools offering LLM courses and various things online. This was, way pre-pandemic. So it was thought to be somewhat cutting edge at the time. And so this working group on distance learning and legal education put together kind of a manual, a handbook, and Cali published it. And
Oh,
and
really?
Cali
Yeah,
even
nice.
underwrote, several of us, gathered back in the day when you used to gather together to get things done.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
went to Denver, three of us co-editors, and put the final touches on this
Nice.
document, which now I'm sure is completely dated. But at the time,
I don't know. Yeah.
Kelly's just really interested in legal education, how adults learn. So I was talking with John Mayer, the executive director of Cali, about my thought that so much of what goes on in public libraries and in courts and in legal aid as well is educational in nature. And Cali really has a good track record, well, with law students, how to explain things using these lessons. I don't think they translate directly into public use, but I just feel like there could be some synergy there and how you teach adults things they need to know, right? It's not like teaching children, you tell them what they need to know and then they comply. Adults want to learn what they think they're going to need. And there's apparently a different pedagogical approach to doing that. And I think that Cali has a lot of that information. So
I think that
also,
is such
yeah,
a great point. Especially, I mean, with that number of patrons that you're dealing with who don't have access to attorneys, or we were
right,
talking before we hit record this morning about how some of the tech I'm most excited about right now has nothing to do with AI, but some of these very simple tools.
right.
The Bob Ambrosi just published the list of candidates for the Startup Alley competition at
Oh,
the
yeah.
ABA Tech Show.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a big long list. You can go in there and vote on your favorites. And some of my favorites have nothing to do with AI. And that we think about AI as a tool for those patrons in your service, right?
Right.
But we, even in our exercise here, it's like, well, that's not exactly right. And we know that it's not exactly right. The words are just a little bit reversed. And I think there's just a lot of really good resources that we can build that are sort of the dumb resources, or I'm not saying that correctly, but
Right. But like
they're
introductory or baseline or like
absolutely,
foundational, right? Like before you really
absolutely.
explore this, you need to understand some concepts about torts, or whatever it is.
Right.
So
or landlord tenant, or basic
Yeah,
navigation features that are just
right.
super simple to use. One of my and I think that serves the the community a whole lot better than what we're all excited about right now,
Right.
because it takes some, at least currently, it takes quite a bit of expertise and nuance uh, to navigate the
I think
results
that's
of an
right. Yeah.
AI response.
Yep.
One of my most exciting, I don't know if what this says about me, but one of the coolest tools I thought, what was the name of it in the list of, it was called AltFee. And all it
Oh.
is, it helps law firms set the pricing for projects, right? So
Mm.
if they want to set a flat rate for, drafting a commercial lease agreement, it walks them through sort of three stages. It does some scope, like, is this triple net lease, or
Right.
it examines, it has just these checkpoints. It's not AI generating a lease for you.
Right.
It's drafting, how complicated is this task to perform, and it's just a checklist. You just check, check,
Right.
check, check, and
Yep.
then you
And
go
then
from
it runs its
scoping to,
calculations and yeah,
yeah, and there's a dollar value associated with it based on how you've done these in the past,
sure.
or if you need to fix that, and then it moves you on to modifiers, which include, like, is this the kind of work you like to do, and
Right.
is there
Charge
a
a little
rush on
more. Yeah.
this,
Right.
but it's just a super simple navigator, and includes the language that you include in your bills and your invoices,
Mhm.
so that it's consistent no matter when or who you're delivering that invoice to. And I said, that is super simple. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like, it's not blowing our minds with how they adopted AI uniquely,
Right.
and I just think there are all kinds of services like that which just have not been built yet for, and I think Cali probably is in any, a better position to do that kind of thing than anybody else, because they're serving that kind of market. Maybe, I don't know. How
Yeah.
long's
I
Cali
mean,
been around?
it's been around, I think about 35 years, 35, 40
Yeah.
years, something like that. Yeah. And their executive director is, he's a big personality. He's really, a friendly guy. So also the Cali vibe is very much, well, let's try it. It's super practical.
Yeah.
John's like, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's try it or stop talking and we'll go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Nice.
it's kind of fun. They do a conference every year, CaliCon, that
Hmm.
people love. I mean, it's a little odd. I'm applying to be on the board. I've never been to CaliCon. Um, the board used to meet twice, one at their conference, CaliCon, and then another time at AALS. These are two conferences I've never been to. So I
But
could
now
bring an
it's a
outsider's
new
perspective.
opportunity. Yeah.
He said they don't go to AALS anymore because not as many law professors apparently attend as used to
Yeah.
in the past. And they're
Huh.
really busy with a lot of other things. Kelly wasn't finding it to be quite as profitable. But they still host their conference. And then now, post COVID, the board meets by Zoom. So that's a nice.
Where is the Cali conference? Is that a in-person get together now?
Yeah, it is in person. And I felt like it used to. Well, Cali is located in Chicago.
Oh,
And
okay.
sure, I think they run space at Chicago Kent. And I somehow always thought of CaliCon as either in Chicago or in the Midwest, but I guess I should have looked that up before I
Save the
interviewed.
date. University of Washington School of Law, CaliCon 24.
Oh, okay.
I love
So
it.
they're
The
going out to
website's got
Washington.
these great pie charts. I got to share. This is hilarious.
Yeah, if you're looking at a Cali website and saying this is hilarious, I'm not surprised. They've probably done something goofy with.
Let's take a look at this. So here's CaliCon 24.
Yeah, law school
There you
computing.
go. Wow. You're so good. 34 years. You're almost exactly
Oh,
right.
uh,
I love the look at this pie chart that came straight from Excel. I love it.
oh, that's great. Oh, sure.
So
First time, 2 to 5
49%
times.
first
Yeah.
timers. So you're not the only one who,
Right.
yeah, super interesting though. Yeah. So 3% been to 20 or more. What, so, wow. Yeah.
And then job
35% have been 3 to
descriptions.
5.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So John was saying, yeah, law librarians love Cali. So they have a big law librarian pool. But then, IT folks from law schools find it really helpful to talk,
Interesting.
with other IT folks in that context. And then, faculty, academic success, that makes sense, right? And then academics and student affairs. And he's always trying to get deans on the Cali board because law schools pay.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so he always wants deans on the board to see how great they are. But, deans are busy people. So. Oh, and what kind of content was presented?
So very helpful content.
Oh,
Extremely helpful. So yeah, popular content.
Uh, I thought it would
Um,
say AI or
this would be a fun event to go to. What are
yeah,
the
I'm
sponsors?
sure it's fun. They're a fun, but they're just really, I don't know. To me, they seem like they're kind of open-minded and exploratory, and they just have a fun vibe. I don't know what
Only
the board.
12% faculty. That's kind of disappointing. I mean, you would
Yeah,
expect
I wonder if that has
um,
ebbed and flowed. Or I think some faculty, are interested in, writing the lessons and different aspects, but maybe don't actually attend the conference.
yeah, users rather than leaders, which makes sense.
Right.
Not always which is totally fine. I mean, if they're
Yep.
users, that's another thing. 324 attendees. So a decent sized, it's
Yeah,
not,
but a
the
nice size. It isn't
$5,000,
ginormous.
5,000, but intimate and that'd be fun to do in Seattle
Yeah.
in June, as long
Yeah.
as it's not 200 degrees like it has been in the
Right.
last
I
couple.
know. You can't tell anymore what weather's going to be like for these
Right.
conferences. All changed.
Center for
Yeah.
this must be a nonprofit, and you said they're headquartered
Yeah.
in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're a nonprofit. Oh, they're accepting session proposals. Put one in, Mike.
Oh,
What do you
hey,
want to
there we
talk
go.
about?
Yeah, boy, I don't know. We could do a little something on document automation, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, and now that I'm teaching again, last summer I taught this Minnesota legal research class at
Yeah.
St. Thomas, and I'd really kind of forgotten about Cali entirely. So now I'm thinking, oh, if I teach that next summer, I'll be sure to, pull up some Cali exercises. And
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
use
yeah.
them to teach myself as well, as well as
Do you think
decide what to.
there's an audience for attorneys as well in the I mean, I would totally take a Cali course now just to catch up on something like a constitutional principle that.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know. You usually you use your school code to get into Cali, because you're part of
Yeah.
a school. But there was something I need to look into this more about government law libraries having free access, which I was frankly unaware of. But it could be that we might end up getting that, and then I'd have to find out what the parameters were. If you're a member of Hennepin County Law Library, maybe you too could learn the Dormant Commerce Clause.
Absolutely. And who would be in a better position than you to say, here's what the patrons need, eviction in
Right.
Minnesota, or expungements, or
Yep. Property transfer.
Yes.
Basic probate forms. Not so much making a will. We don't get people doing that anymore. They just Google it and who knows
Interesting.
what nonsense they do. But we do get people then after the fact wanting to know, how do you open probate? Do you have to open probate? Is it a small estate under the Minnesota statutes? They don't know that's what it's called, but they'll come up and say, all my dad had was a car, and a bank account.
Yeah.
And so I just think that some of those kind of more transactional pieces, it would be great to have just a nice educational piece on like, what is a mechanic's lien, really?
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
how do you know if you
absolutely.
have
Yeah.
one on your property, and how do you
And
get
do
rid
you
of
know
it?
how many attorneys? I mean, I would take that course. I mean,
Yeah,
there is no shame in taking the basic mechanics lien. You know, if you're,
yeah,
I do IP. For my clients, I've never handled a mechanics lien issue. If anybody
right,
came to me, that
right.
I was like, I would refer them out, or there's a ton of stuff like that. Ton
Yep.
of stuff where I've never
And if
touched it. Basic stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of those basic questions are things your relatives ask you about. And it would
Yeah,
be nice
yeah,
to
right,
know
right.
just a little bit to say, that sounds like you have a lien on your property. Here's how you could
Yeah,
tell, and here's what you would have to do.
yeah.
You can talk to a lawyer, but at least you have a little more information to give them as you send them on their way. So
I
yeah,
know.
so those
I
are
did.
my, yeah.
I think the biggest barrier to legal research can be pride, right? I mean,
Oh,
there's, yeah, it's like I should know this, but I don't. And if I have to
yeah,
go to a resource like Cali, oh my God, how embarrassing is that? Those are barriers that
yeah.
I don't know how you break those down, other than Cali could have a role in that. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Right, right. I don't know how if you marketed some of these things not as introductions, but as like refreshers or or something. So
Yeah,
it seemed like, well, yeah, I already know this. I'm just doing a little brush up.
yeah, right, right. I know. Well,
Yeah.
and the law changes, frequently too. So having an
Oh, yeah.
up-to-date resource is, maybe another, staying fresh is the thing. Maybe I don't know.
Right. Right.
It's
Exactly.
yeah. It's, you spend any time on LinkedIn and just the frustrating thing. The one thing I hate about LinkedIn is it's always thought leadership. It's always, here's what I know about this. It's blah.
Yeah.
It's never anyone asking a question. It's never, and it's, hey, what actually? That's why I love the community platform. And even there
Right.
at Minbar, these local places, like I actually don't know how to do this. I feel like there's some flexibility there where you could ask without being
Right.
embarrassed, or
Yeah.
got colleagues to connect with. So there may be more of
Right.
those sort of
Yeah.
localized, balkanized communities that aren't,
Right.
in
Yeah, as
front
long
of
as
a
attorneys
million
can find
people.
them and don't
Yeah.
have too much pride there. But I do find it really I don't know, heartwarming to watch the exchanges in the community when someone will say, you
Yes.
know what, this came up, I've not done it before. Does someone have time to just give me a call? And
I know.
people
I know.
do. They'll say, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
Oh,
call you
yeah.
in 15 minutes. I do this all the time. Happy to walk you through it. It's super collegial. I love stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're super friendly, and they'll post directly to you. They'll just respond directly to an email or a phone call
Yeah.
or whatever. I've gotten that many times. I always post publicly because I mean,
Yeah.
everybody.
If one person asked it, other people are
Yeah.
wondering
Right.
too.
Right.
I agree, I think. And if they don't have that exact question, often it's interest in land that people post about because they're so complicated. So there'll be
Yeah.
client A and client
Yeah.
B and client C share this land and something, something, something. And it goes through these scenarios. And I really like to see the responses because it teaches me how you think about those circumstances. And so I think for other attorneys too, it helps them then in similar situations in the future. Okay, this is how you break that down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite research tools because some of
Yeah.
those barriers that they aren't there. it's
Yeah, that's right.
Karen, thanks again for joining. I am going to spend some time looking into Cali now.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're doing that. I hope that goes well for you.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
see. I mean, maybe when we meet in January, I'll say, well, no dice on that one, but it just reminded me about Cali and all of that it has to offer. So it's just good to keep that in mind.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, be nice group to support.
Yeah.
Glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
Anything cool coming up for you this week, Karen?
Next Friday, a week from today, is our CLE that closes out our ABA display on Jewish lawyers during World
yes,
War II.
yes.
And this is going to be John Q. Barrett, who's an expert on Justice Jackson and the Nuremberg trials. And he'll be talking about the Nuremberg trials and like the restoration of the rule of law in Germany post World War II. So I think that'll be a nice kind of tap to this display, and it should be good. You know, the first CLE that was about kind of the breakdown of the rule of law had a lot of attendees and just really super survey responses. You know, fantastic, informative. I love these historical ones where we learned something that we thought we already knew. You know, I thought I understood this. And now I realize I either misunderstood or there was so much more to understand than I knew. So that's what's coming up. What's up for you?
Yeah, I blocked off next Tuesday to come visit you in the afternoon because I have not been down there yet to see the
good
exhibit. So I'm excited to come down. We were talking before we hit record that we'll be chatting. We'll continue our chats regularly on Friday mornings, but just leaving an open invitation. We'll be putting together a 50-state survey. So I'm excited to get that started. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I'm open to suggestions. So I'm hoping people will say, here's a survey topic that no one's produced. There's a lot of available surveys out there, but they're kind of fun to do, and they're longer projects, and they're fun to maintain and visualize. And so we're gonna be doing that live, just kind of as open office hours on Friday mornings. And I'll break to have this conversation. But I'm open to recommendations for 50-state surveys. I have a couple of ideas, but I'm gonna sit on that for a little bit, and maybe next week we'll announce what that survey will be. So
great. Well, have a wonderful week, Mike. It's always good to talk with you. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen.
Right.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.